They would leave Alabama having survived the bus burnings in Anniston and the beatings in Birmingham and Montgomery. A few days later, they would be arrested and put in jail in Jackson, Mississippi. Hearing of the bravery that preceded them, blacks in Albany, Georgia, in Jackson, in Selma, Alabama, began to boycott, march, and protest. Even their leader, Martin Luther King, was arrested. It was Good Friday in Birmingham. He responded to white clergy criticizing him for going too far, too fast.
When you have seen hate-filled policemen curse, kick, and even kill your black brothers and sisters, when your first name becomes nigger, your middle name becomes boy, however old you are, when you are harried by day and haunted by night by the fact that you are a Negro, living constantly at tiptoe stands, never quite knowing what to expect next, then you will understand why we find it difficult to wait.
It was Sunday morning. It was church. It was children. It was 10:22 in the morning at the Birmingham 16th Street Baptist Church. A group of young girls had just finished their Sunday school lesson. They were changing into their choir robes.
The bodies and the partial clothing that you saw, it was like a nightmare.
They were not participants. They were not leaders. They were not marchers or sit-inners. They hadn't gone on a freedom ride. They were just there attending Sunday school.
The bomb that had killed the 4 children had been the work of the Ku Klux Klan. Until that moment, the majority of white people had never fully comprehended the magnitude of the intolerance and hate black Americans faced in their struggle. In the summer of 1964, hundreds of students from the North traveled the back roads of Mississippi. They had come to help blacks register to vote.
People were scared of you. You know, you represented potential trouble.
We had all of the reasons that people could possibly give us of why they wouldn't register to vote. I don't want to do that because I don't want my house burned down. I don't want to do that because my son works for Mr. Nutlow, and Mr. Nutlow wouldn't be pleased with this. Who's making you do this, Henry? You know we've gotten along well. Why do you think you have to do this now? Every segment of that process was laden with danger. Known danger for black people.
live here. I'm not like a man with a suitcase can move at a minute's notice. I said, but I can't march now, but any way I can help you, I'll do that. They opened my eyes. It opened a lot of people's eyes. My eyes were already half open, and it just opened them on up.
But there were so many thousands of people who said, yes, I will be there. Even though they knew, and had known all of their lives, that whites were unequivocally opposed to them voting. But they risked their lives, their jobs, their homes, their families, and they went down to register to vote.
Well, I went up there and I filled out an application. They had all about the Constitution and everything. Some of the questions on there, no doubt, the man would give me the application. I don't believe he knew.
The application was 4 and 5 pages long. And the registrar was an 8th grader. He could not read the applications.
You never did know whether you answered them right or wrong. You never did see it no more. I mean, most times they took them and threw them in the garbage can.
At 3 p.m. on June 21, 1964, near Philadelphia, Mississippi, 3 workers were held by the Neshoba County Deputy Sheriff and charged with speeding. Michael Schwerner, a social worker from New York, was easily recognized as an outsider. James Cheney, 21, the son of a maid, was a native of Meridian, Mississippi. Andrew Goodman was also from New York and had, since the age of 14, participated in civil rights protests. At 10 p.m., Sheriff Cecil Price ordered the 3 to return to Meridian. They were soon followed by 2 cars.
The car would pass, then slow down. And then another car would come up behind and then box you in. But once they found the car, you knew they would never find them alive.
The disappearance of 2 white men in Mississippi immediately focused national attention on Neshoba County. President Johnson ordered 100 FBI and 200 Navy personnel into the county to search the high grass and drag the Pearl River for bodies.
Unfortunately, during that process, they found other bodies, remains of other bodies, of other nameless black people.
A paid informer led the FBI to an earthen dam.
They were beaten, they were tortured before they were actually shot, and they were buried. The night that we knew the bodies had been found, there was tremendous sadness, but also a sense of relief in that finally we knew what had happened. this single incident made America able to come face to face with this racism and the hatred that existed.
The federal government charged Sheriff Price and other Klansmen involved in the killings with civil rights violations. But the state of Mississippi refused to press charges for murder. The focus of the movement now turned to Selma, Alabama, and the neighboring town of Marion, where 50% of the eligible voters were black, but only 1% were registered to vote.
And they had state troopers in every other office they could get, deputized people with guns to prevent us from marching around the courthouse and up and down the street.
On February 3rd, the Marion police arrested 700 black children for marching and jailed a leader for contributing to the delinquency of minors. Inside the Mount Zion Methodist Church, on the evening of February 18th, an organization and prayer meeting was held. Outside, local state police had gathered, reinforced by hundreds they had armed and deputized.
All you could see was a sea of blue, a situation where they had planned to teach us a lesson.
It had come from the direction of Mac's Cafe, where those fleeing the beating had taken refuge. Jimmy Lee Jackson, a black, had tried to prevent his mother and grandfather from being beaten and had been thrown to the ground by a state trooper.
And picked Jimmy up off the floor and shoved him in a corner and actually shot him in the side. Just took a pistol and stuck it inside and shot him. And as he ran up that hill, they continued to beat him and ran just beyond the church and fell between the church and the post office.
Jimmy Lee Jackson was 26, well-liked, quiet, and the youngest deacon of his church. They would bury him the following Saturday, walking 4 miles in the rain from Marion to the black burial ground just east of town. Angered and saddened by Jimmy Lee Jackson's death, they planned their most ambitious protest. They would walk 54 miles from Selma to the State House in Montgomery and demand to present their grievances to the governor himself.
As we walked from the church, we knew we were walking into probably could have been our last death.
Jim Clark was at the foot of the bridge. On the other side of the bridge, the state troopers were lined up. Cloud said, "Don't go any farther. Stop right where you are." Hosea Williams said, "May I say something?" And Cloud said, "No, you may not say anything."
Disperse. You are ordered to disperse, go home, or go to your church. This march will not continue.
If you tried to go forward, you were going into a heat of battle. You couldn't go to the left or to the right because down below was the Alabama River, and they just beat us all the way back.
Somebody said, "They've got a dead person over there." And his remark was, "Well, let them die. Let the buzzards eat them." The world knew that there was a bloody Sunday. The world knew that the entire road was spotted with blood.